I want to play something for you. Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com on with Ken and Anthony yesterday. Had gone through and made comments basically on what Shedeur needs to do to be successful in this game. Again, I don't know that I hate him. I don't also know that I love the comments in the way they're feeling. I'm a little torn.
I think it's going to go well in some spots, and I think there will be some mistakes. My whole thing with Shedeur for this Sunday is that I think he's going to have to play within himself and not try to be legendary in this game, not try to do too much and prove to the world that he should have been taken in the first round or that he should be the Browns starting quarterback for the next 100 years. He's got to try to just manage the game to the best of his ability and not try to go nuts out there, because that's when he's going to run into problems. That's when he's going to press. That's when he's going to retreat and revert to some bad behaviors.
So part of me on this is, do I think that they need to have a simple game plan for Shedeur? Do they need to go out there and get some easy passes off? Because the blitz is going to be coming from the Raiders. They're going to be bringing pressure. Because Shedeur, and the Browns offensive line both showed a little bit of struggle with that against the Ravens. So that's coming. Get the ball out quickly, get Shedeur some easy reads in this game. I just don't know necessarily that I want to sit there and I want to ask Shedeur to pull everything back. Is that what I want to ask him to do, is go out there and, hey, Shedeur, don't try to go out there and be essentially a great quarterback. Don't try to be everything that you necessarily think that you are, but play within the means of your own play. It's kind of anti-Shedeur in a way. He does go out there and basically every single week and every single day that he puts on a uniform, in a lot of ways tries to be legendary. And I think that's what kind of makes it great. I think on that last drive, it wasn't necessarily Shedeur playing within himself. Shedeur going out there and making plays. You just got an offensive line to protect him. When I have a problem of Shedeur trying to be legendary is when the protection breaks down and you really try to make something work of it, but you do it by going happy feet and backing up in the pocket. That's where you run into problems. And I think that's what Mary Kay is trying to say here, in which a lot of ways, again, I agree. You have to start to eliminate those stuff. I had retweeted the video of Josh Allen last night sprinting around in the backfield and taking a horrendous sack from Will Anderson. It was a twofold problem here that we looked at. One, quarterbacks do this in the National Football League. It is what happens. Some of the great quarterbacks do walk themselves into really bad sacks. I think that shows you that, if Shedeur does that from time to time, it will not be the end of the world. He still can be a great quarterback, but you do have to eliminate it on some front. You have to at least try to minimize the amount of times that that's going to happen. But you also look at it and it's okay, if great quarterbacks are also doing that, I don't necessarily need to completely eliminate it from his game, because for every play that happens for Josh Allen where he takes a sack, he probably has another 2 or 3 where he does that and he makes the world out of a play.
Josh Allen, that was horrible last night. It was terrible.
God awful. I don't know where he thought he was going. And I've seen Shedeur make similar plays, by the way, multiple times, both in the preseason and against the Ravens. I'm not arguing that this is a good Josh Allen play.
I might argue the Josh Allen one was worse than any of the Shedeur.
It very well might. He had about 9 opportunities to throw that ball away and just lived to see 4th and 6 in the third quarter. But my point being is, great quarterbacks do walk into these moments, but for every time that they do this, there's also other times that you point towards where they make these types of plays and they turn them into something. In a lot of ways, I think the natural instinct of what we saw in the fourth quarter, the Isaiah Bond throw where he overthrew Bond, was kind of a product of this. Now, it was a much more simple move, and it was just I have an edge rusher, I spin out of it, and I try to make a play out of it. But the idea of extending a play, not just throwing that ball into oblivion because the pressure is there, not spiking at a wide receiver's feet, are part of what makes Shedeur great. I also don't know that I necessarily want to limit that entirely. Again, I understand it to a degree. Some things do need to change a little bit for Shedeur, when some of the pressure comes, when it feels like the play is breaking down, you do just have to find a way to get the ball out. Whether that's just finding your check down quickly, whether that's the Browns designing plays to find easy routes, whether that's just throwing the ball away. Just toss it to the sideline and live to see another down. There are things that Shedeur does have to learn how to do. But I pointed out with the Josh Allen thing, there are times that we just see plays break down, and some of the best quarterbacks in football do turn into, basically the way they looked in their college days, where play breaks down and they make a Johnny Manziel-esque play where you're running around in the backfield and you do find something that works. Yeah, I know, Johnny Manziel, probably not a great example. But college days were good. And those type of plays worked all the time. But like your Patrick Mahomes, your Josh Allens, your Lamar Jacksons do find ways to make those plays go for positive yards and make something out of those plays. Not every single time, but you live with the bad for the same reason that with Shedeur in college, you lived with the bad of those plays because you can go make it up the very next play. I think Shedeur has shown flashes, even in that final drive, of saying, hey, there are going to be times where I'm going to be able to make this up. Like you see him extend the ball downfield. You see him have, a just great ball placement. And you see him even on the Isaiah Bond play. Yes, he overthrew his receiver, but made something work on that play where the pocket did break down. The rush did get inside, and he had to make a play work with his legs. These are the moments where, Shedeur trying to be legendary does feel like it kind of lives up to what makes him great as a quarterback. So I don't know that I can ask him to just eliminate that. I just have to ask you to pick the right moments to do it. And hey, if you do walk into a moment where you try to do something great and it turns into something awful, you're going to have to find a way to pick your team up out of those spots. You're going to have to find a way to, hey, if you're going to do that, God, I hope you do it on first down. You better find a way to pick up a couple of chunk yards and get the team back into action. Everybody did look around. And you know what? Maybe the scouts are right. Like, at the end of the day, maybe Shedeur just stinks. And maybe those things that, plagued him in Colorado are going to be the things that lead to his detriment in the NFL, and they're going to show themselves on Sunday. They're going to show themselves throughout the rest of the season. And for however long and how many opportunities Shedeur ends up in the NFL, maybe that will be the storyline. I think what makes this intriguing and what leaves us excited is that this entire time, Shedeur has been anything but a normal fifth-round pick. Like, there's also people who do this for a living. Yes, the NFL scouts ended up that way. There's also people who evaluate quarterbacks, year in and year out and pretty much nail this thing on, hey, here's where these guys are going to fall. Here's where they look talent-wise. And almost all of those guys had Shedeur being, if not a first-round talent, we're talking, he was going to be a second-round talent. Well, there's not really second-round quarterback, so maybe he's a third-rounder. But, he was one of the top quarterbacks off the board, and the lowest evaluation I saw of Shedeur, and it was very few rather than many, looked at Shedeur Sanders and said, okay, that's going to be a fifth round or a first round pick. And the few said, oh, well, I don't really see it. Maybe he's a third round pick. Again, there's flaws in his game. I'm not just arbitrarily ignoring those. I sat here and told you I would have drafted him with the number 2 overall pick. I felt strongly Shedeur was going to be a good prospect. Wouldn't have started in week 1 because there were things he needed to work on. I think that's what leaves this as an interesting thing and why we do, kind of look at it a little bit differently. I actually want to play something for you from yesterday as well. Afternoon Drive, Emery Hunt on with Nick and Jonathan. And Emery's one of the guys who goes through, makes his own evaluations, and felt very strongly about Shedeur and the label being placed on him with that fifth-round pick style.
He was my number 1 quarterback in the class, and I compared him to Joe Burrow. When the game is on the line, when you need those gotta-have-it moments, that's what Shedeur really excels. But my thing is, people are always fascinated. When you talk about fifth-round pick, he's not a fifth-round talent. He went in the fifth round. That's like saying Isaiah Bond is an undrafted talent. No, he was a first- or second-round talent that just happened to go undrafted because of unforeseen issues. But these are the same people that had Shedeur Sanders as day 1 pick or a second-round talent. Now, these are the same ones that are telling us that the 2026 class is going to be great with Nussmeier, Beck, Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, Lenore Sellers. Not one of these same people mentioned Moore, Simpson, and Mendoza. So why would we listen to those same people when they just told us that their evaluation of talent ain't worth the paper it's printed on? So to me, it's okay to get a quarterback wherever you get him, just as long as he can play, because we've seen it done with Jalen Hurts, Andy Dalton, Russell Wilson, Drew Brees, Kaepernick, Purdy, Cousins, Favre, Moon, Brady, Derek Carr, Montana, Boomer Esiason, Dak Prescott, Tony Romo, Matt Hasselbeck, Ken Anderson, Jeff Garcia, Cunningham, Warner, Fouts. Can I go on?
So, obviously, very redundant at the end. We can sit here and you can say, Emery's cherry picking the late round picks that actually panned out. But I think that's also part of the reality is sometimes the NFL just gets the evaluation process wrong. Sometimes the media gets it wrong. That's what we're trying to figure out here, is which side of this was completely on the wrong side, because it's going to be one. I've said it, and I will continue to say it. There is not much of me that believes that Shedeur Sanders is going to develop into a backup quarterback in the NFL and make a 10-year career out of it. It is very boomer bust for Shedeur Sanders, to throw a fantasy football term at you in this one. I think you're talking about a starting quarterback that is just a bona fide starter, or Shedeur would be out of the league. I don't think backup quarterback lives in his blood, because we see a lot of the backup quarterbacks, they function a lot of the same way in the NFL. They are guys that typically hang around, won't lose you a game, but probably won't win you a game. They're very safe, and you could run a scheme through them, and they could run exactly what the other quarterback in front of them wanted to run, or at the very least, they're going to play a very boring style of football. It's not Shedeur. Shedeur doesn't do that, and very rarely do we see backups. Sure, like Jameis is one of the one odd ones, but he was kind of a third string as well. But I just don't see that really playing out in Shedeur's cards. So again, somebody's going to be right in all of this, and somebody's going to be wrong. Finding that evaluation and finding out what's true is going to show us, because we've seen late round picks succeed, and we've certainly seen late round quarterback picks fail. I think the fact that Shedeur is the polarizing, a lot of people had him going higher in the draft, makes it interesting to think that the former there could actually be true.